Crumbly had found a wonderful home with the little girl, Lily, who treated him like a treasure. She even built him a tiny bed in her room, a soft napkin folded like a mattress, with a matchbox as his house. But deep down, Crumbly still longed for adventure. One evening, as Lily worked on her homework, a strong gust of wind blew through the open window. Papers went flying, and, before he could hold on, so did Crumbly. He tumbled through the air, flipping and flopping, until he landed softly in a flower bed outside. Dazed but excited, Crumbly dusted off a few petals and looked around. The world outside was bigger and wilder than he had imagined. Suddenly, he heard a deep, rumbling growl. Turning slowly, he saw a squirrel. The fluffy-tailed creature sniffed at him curiously. "Are you food?" the squirrel asked. Crumbly puffed up his crust with pride. "I am more than food. I am an explorer." The squirrel tilted its head. "Explorer, huh? Well, if you're so brave, let's see if you can cross the great fence." Crumbly looked up and saw the towering wooden fence that separated Lily's garden from the unknown. It looked impossible for a bread slice to climb, but he was determined. With the squirrel cheering him on, Crumbly began his ascent. He bounced off a rock, used a vine to climb, and even got a little help from a passing butterfly who gave him a small lift. At the top, he peeked over and gasped. On the other side was a giant picnic in the park. Tables filled with sandwiches, pastries, and fruit stretched as far as he could see. "I've found it. The land of endless snacks," Crumbly whispered in awe. But just then, a flock of birds spotted him. "A loose bread slice? Snack time," they chirped, diving toward him. Thinking quickly, Crumbly grabbed onto a falling napkin that had blown away from the picnic. He held on tight as the wind carried him, floating like a parachute all the way back into Lily's yard. He landed with a soft plop right in front of the squirrel. "Not bad," the squirrel admitted. "You're one brave bread slice." Crumbly smiled. He had tasted adventure once again, and he knew this wouldn't be his last journey. Back inside, Lily found him in the grass and gasped. "How did you get out here?" she laughed, brushing off a few crumbs. "You're a sneaky one, aren't you?" She placed him back in his matchbox bed, never knowing that her little bread slice had just become the first of his kind to cross the great fence. And so, Crumbly drifted off to sleep, dreaming of his next big adventure. The Adventures of Crumbly, the Brave Bread Slice. Crumbly was no ordinary slice of bread. He lived in a cozy little bakery, stacked neatly with his fellow slices in a warm, fluffy loaf. But Crumbly had a dream. He wanted adventure. He didn't want to end up as just another breakfast or sandwich. He wanted to see the world. One morning, as the bakery owner reached for a slice, Crumbly saw his chance. With a tiny wiggle and a great leap, he tumbled out of the bag and onto the counter. The baker didn't notice as Crumbly rolled off and landed softly on the floor. Crumbly set off on his journey, sliding under tables and dodging crumbs of fallen cookies. He made friends with a sugar cube who dreamed of swimming in a cup of tea, and a daring donut who had once escaped the fryer but now lived in hiding. Together, they formed the League of Leftovers, vowing to find a place where food could live happily ever after. But danger lurked around every corner. A hungry mouse spotted Crumbly and licked its tiny lips. "A free slice of bread? What a treat," it squeaked, charging forward. Crumbly ran as fast as his crusty edges could carry him, zigzagging through the bakery until he spotted a paper bag near the door. With one last desperate jump, he flung himself inside. The bag belonged to a kind little girl who had just bought a muffin. As she walked out of the bakery, she peeked inside and gasped. "A runaway bread slice," she laughed. "I'll take you home." From that day on, Crumbly found a new purpose, not as a forgotten leftover, but as the little girl's lucky charm. She carried him in her lunchbox, but never ate him, placed him on her desk during tests, and even told stories about his great escape. And so, Crumbly became a legend, the bravest bread slice the world had ever known.